Okay, so first of all, what we need to do is to build a connection manager. And a connection manager basically allows SQL Server integration services to reach outside of the program and basically grab hold of a file. And within a package which pulls in data from multiple different sources, you typically create multiple different connection managers. So you may create a connection manager for a particular Excel file. You may create another connection manager to connect to, say, an Excel database file, another one to connect to a SQL Server or a Oracle database. So what we do is, first of all, it's actually worth noting, we need a data flow task, and essentially this data flow task within this control flow tab here is basically a envelope in which to build this ELT process. So once we've dropped that onto the onto this desktop, there isn't a hell of a lot else we do with that, except we then can just double click on it and it'll take us through to this other tab here. Alternatively, you can just click on the tab. Either way, it will take you through to this data flow tab, and this is where the grunt work happens. This is where we do the real work. So what we do is we need a connection manager. So the easiest way to create a connection manager is go down to the bottom of the page where this connection manager box is, and then do a right click, and we go say new connection, and then it opens up all the potential connections. So we've got Excel connections, flat file connections, HTTP connections, ODBC connections, and it goes on. So what we're going to do today is pull in data from just a standard text file, a .txt extension, and so what we'll do is just say it's from a flat file. Go add the connection manager. Like I was saying, this is a little bit slow because it's on my laptop, but let's call it, so we'll pull it from a file which contains segment information, so we'll call it just segment data. We then go and find that segment data, and okay, it's taken us straight to it, which is nice. So segment only, here we go. All that sort of stuff default is fine. Probably about 80 or 90% of the time SQL gets it right in terms of, well, probably about 95% of the time it gets it right in terms of these default settings. So I know that the column names are at the top of the row. We then look at the columns. Yeah, okay, that all looks pretty good. I know there's only 23 rows of data, so 2 to 24. This is the real data. We see that ID 15 is a Soho segmented customer, and so customer ID 21 is Soho segment, and same as ID 3, then the final one ID 9. So we've got 4 Soho customers, so it's always good just to remember that, so you can just double check that the data's fine. Obviously you can't do that in big data sets. So there we go, we've got a connection manager down there. Then what we'll do is, so those connection managers can be used in multiple different places within the data set. So if we wanted to pull in a single data file a couple different times within the process for any reason, or if we wanted to even copy this and paste it into another ELT process, we could just copy that connection manager. So what we need to do is put in a data flow source here, and we'll just call this one, this is the segment data. So this was just sort of like a door in which to into the ELT process for this segment data to come. So there we go. So it's by default, because there is only one segment manager within this package, one connection manager within this package at the moment, it automatically populated it, which is nice. Those are the columns. Then we can preview the data, which I've already done before. That all looks pretty good. So we've got our customers there. Great stuff. So we then just say OK. So that all looks pretty good. So that's the extract process. We're extracting that segment file from that folder within my computer. Now we want to do the transform process. So we have a whole range of data flow transformations here, and what we want to do today is add a filter onto it, and we do that using a conditional split. So transformation, and that conditional split will be, so we're just going to pull out the Soho segmented customers. So in order to add a transformation to the process, we connect up these nodes or boxes using the green arrow. So I just drag that green arrow down to the conditional split. Now we double click on the conditional split, and this is where we put in a formula. So we know that, and what I'd recommend is when you start off, actually use the actual these sort of menus and drag down operators and things like that, rather than just doing it by hand, because there are a few little odd things, and I'll sort of demonstrate that. So we want to pull in, select just segment the Soho segment customers. So you'd think you'd be able to just go Soho like that, but what you see, you've got an error coming up, so it doesn't like that. And within SQL Server, it has the syntax is a little bit different than, say, what you get in Excel. So the equals is actually double equals as opposed to a single equal. So we'll drag that down, and when you define a filter, you actually need brackets around it. So this should now go black, and oh, man, look at that, it's actually worked. So there's little quirky things like that, and so that's why I'd recommend to use these sort of pull down menus and drag and drops and stuff like that. So I'll call this Soho Seg. Okay, so that, we'll say Soho, give that a name, Soho filter. That looks like that's fine.